The next thing is, so we've been looking at anatomy of an email. We've been doing our dissection, you guys. We're all doing good. Now, this is the rest of the email that we put together for my client, right? So this is where we're getting into the body of the email now. The first thing is, what we did in here is, if you notice in their logo, you had that green. We said, well, that's really the only kind of identifiable anything creative that we can lift from this particular logo. We did not create the logo. But we have that green, so we leveraged that. So, and you make sure that whatever you do, you put your logo on there and put it in a big, prominent, and put it large enough for them to see. Because if they don't, have you ever seen an ad on TV where you watch the whole ad and you don't know what it is they're advertising? You don't even know what the brand is? Have you noticed this? Did they lose their money and their investment on that ad? And if you do that same thing, are you wasting your time and confusing everybody and losing the opportunity? So don't do that, right? Okay. So logos and colors. And then my point here is let the pictures speak. I wanted people who got this to see how nice the work that my clients do is. Now, I could describe it, but I can't make the point very well unless I really show it to you. So I looked through the photos that they gave me, and I made sure that the ones that they gave me and that I used were pretty. And I made sure that they were indicative of the kind of work the client does. And I didn't have to say a whole lot, right? Remember, another thing that we're going to get to here is the total length of this thing shouldn't be much longer than 20 total lines. Keep it short. Keep it short, because people have the attention span of a goldfish. Right? Minimize the number of links. I only have 2 links on this email. The reason I only have 2 links on here is because if I ask people to do too many different things, they end up not doing anything. They get so confounded and lost in the, they just short out. Okay.
Hey, Joe?
Yeah.
When you say not too many links, and you want to keep your content short.
Yeah.
So what about the kind of links where you put up a paragraph from a little longer article that maybe is 3
I was just
paragraphs?
going to jump to that.
Oh, okay.
I was going to jump to that. So maybe what you want to do with your newsletter, if you're going to put up a couple of different stories, let's say, I mean, this is purely just a promotional email. But remember that people, how do you read anything, guys? Do you pick up a newspaper and read it top to bottom?
No.
How do you read? You do what?
Scan.
You scan. Who said scan? Okay, yeah, Israel said scan. That's all we do is we kind of just, why do we scan?
See if anything pops, anything stands
Yeah,
out.
what's important on this page to me? Is there anything relevant? Because if there's not, my time is money, and my money is time, and, right? So keep it, so what you do instead is, all of these should root back to your website. The whole point for this is that this is part of your, quote, content marketing program. Imagine that, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes what I mean by this, but right now I'm just going to tell you that this is meant to drag people back to your website. So, add the first 3 opening lines or so of a blog that lives on your website. And at the bottom say, to continue reading, click here. By now, if it's a 3 strong opening lines of an essay or something, a blog, you've got them hooked and they're going to go. Once you get them on your website, it's like pulling people into the first few inches or feet of your store perimeter. Once you've got them in the door, you've got a way better opportunity to sell them than if they're still standing outside on the curb, right? This is the curb. Get them in the store. Okay? Include your social icons. So, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of this, right? Responsive design. Does anybody know what this term responsive design means? You guys in the back, I know you do, so no cheating. What is anybody hear this term before, responsive design?
No.
Responsive design means it doesn't really matter what I'm using. It's going to format right for this. It's going to look awesome on my desktop computer. It's going to look pretty sweet on my iPad. because the software can recognize what the hardware is that's being used to look at the thing. Okay? And it reconfigures everything to suit the environment that the user is in. Okay? Automatically. So again, you want to link to your website. So you can see on this one, I've got two. I've got one here, visit our site, and I've got another one, to request a quote now, click here. The quote form is on their website. You click here, it's going to open you up. It's going to open up on their site where they can fill in the contact information. The client has a back end on his website, if he's smart, that says, I can keep all this information. I can keep it and I can retain it so that if the lead comes through in my email, but I lost or I deleted the email, oh bummer, I didn't just lose the actual contact. It's sitting on a spreadsheet someplace in Dropbox maybe. Okay? Provide support points, build credibility. So here's how we did that here. I've got his contract number. He's in home HOA specialist. They have a general Class B license. So this is all the stuff. These guys know their stuff. They are craftsmen. They're not, you know, unbonded, unlicensed, you know, just handymen. These are the real deal guys. Okay. And then I've also, these are support points too. This is all the things we can do. Remember though, let the pictures speak. That's all their work, right? And one more. This is actually a testimonial. I grabbed the testimonial off their Yelp page. I superimposed it on a photo of a bathroom that they had remodeled, so that you look at, because it's a pretty wall, right? It's a nice shower stall, and you're going to read this, right? So all of this is supporting that. These guys do great work. Hi, Barbara. Minimize the overall text. Not more than 20 lines, okay? Write for scannability. It's another point we touched on. Hi. Short paragraphs. I mean, look, if that's a paragraph, it's only 5 lines long. I said you should only have 20 lines in the whole deal, right? One idea per paragraph. So, that photo there, again, create problem awareness, present the solution. This whole thing up here, property challenges, unexpected maintenance problems, property damage left by prior tenants, aging property that needs maintenance. These are all the kinds of problems that the people that got this, because we sourced the right list with people who are worried about these kinds of issues, may respond to when they read that opening. Okay? Remember that circle we just went around, being aware of the problem? I started them there. Present the solution. Remember, we're thinking about evaluation and comparison and thinking and all that. I'm doing that here. I'm walking you back through that circle again. The proof points, again, it's the evaluation part. Include the proof points, right? Proof points ought to be, you know, spell out the benefit that the feature gives. Use facts and numbers, testimonial elements, customer quotes, numbers of customers, client names, independent reviews, awards, anything like that that gives a feel of credibility and like this is the real deal. Make sure it's in here because this is what sells. A few more proof points, right? The photography, testimonial. Now, remember, now we may be with certain customers who got this at the tipping point. Remember that tipping point is the purchase point, right? Offering them 10% off of their normal quote might be enough to get somebody who's sort of on the fence to give these guys a call. What's my objective for this whole email?
Generate a phone call?
Get a phone call. The promise of a 10% thing, if I liked everything else that was in here, might be enough to get that call. So you put something in there to make that happen, that trial offer.